So about 15 to 20 years before my late father retired from Nagaland Armed Force, he traveled a lot. He was a commandant, and so he was visiting outposts in the remote area or villages where there's a platoon or two, guarding a village. Often he would leave, not just for a day or two, but sometime a week or two. And we never knew when he would be home. But as family, we always came together. Mother would gather us every evening in the living room, and she would open a text from the Bible and read and try to give us some words of encouragement. And so that aspect was very much alive within us. But his preferred time to come home was evening. And we would be eating or doing our homeworks or doing whatever. As soon as the army vehicle stops at the top of the hill about 150 feet up, the driver will honk a couple times. And since there is no one in my neighborhood with car or vehicle, and no one in my neighborhood owned a phone. And so if there was a honking, it'll be my dad. And so no matter what we were doing that particular time, we would all say, "Daddy is home." And we would drop everything what we were doing, and we will all rush out, and we are all running up the hill 120 feet. It was always a joyful reunion. We never got tired of welcoming home to be with us. On the top of that, whenever he came home from the trip, he would bring home meat. He would bring home flowers, especially orchids. Our family back home is known as Orchid Village, Orchid Villa. We have orchids all around the house. And then vegetables and fruits. His junior officers and villagers had collected all of those for him to take home. So we knew Dad was not coming home empty-handed. And so we would all run up to the hill and see what he's got in the Jeep. Now, Apostle Paul wrote this very interesting letter to Christians at Thessalonica. He even said, "I'm not going to sit here and argue. I'm not going to write to you and argue about time, chronological time, when he will be home, when he will come to take us to final glory." I'm not, deadline. Jesus, I think Apostle Paul is saying, I'm not about deadline. I just want to let you know that he is coming. Right? And so be ready. No matter what you are doing in your life, you have to be ready to welcome. Just like we were waiting for our daddy to come home. Have that sense of anticipation somewhere in the corner of your heart. You see? And so Apostle Paul, he uses varieties of metaphors, something that they can relate to. He talks about thief in the night. You know, if somebody is planning to rob you, this person is not going to call you on the phone. This person is not even going to text you, by the way, we are planning to come to your house tonight at around 9:15. That would be sure foolishness for the robbers, right? Because if I was the homeowner, or if you were the homeowner, you would be sitting there with a shotgun. Yes, come on in. Or you might just invite your neighbors and just overwhelm this person. Or you might call police department and, sit there and wait. Robbers don't want to be caught. They want to be anonymous. They want to pretend as if nothing has happened. And Apostle Paul is very clever at helping Christians to understand that Jesus is going to come, but it is just going to be sudden when you are less expected. And so he said, be ready, be alert, be watchful, have your eyes open, keep your ears open, because the honking might, Revelation talks about trumpet sound, not honking sound, right? The trumpet will sound. And so, if you're drunk, you're not going to hear it. Or you might hear it, you may have no capacity to get up and do anything, right? And so Apostle Paul is very clever. It's like any parents, who are trying their children to understand what expectations are and how to be ready. And so he's explaining all this. Be ready like a soldier as well, Put your armors, because your enemy might attack any time, right? Ready. The metaphoric language, original metaphoric language of the word ready is also a very military language. You have your gun. And you have to be aiming, not just position, but the gun should be aiming at the bullseye, a target. And when the commander says, fire, you should be pulling the trigger, right? That sense of readiness, just ready to hear the commander said fire. Apostle Paul is saying that kind of readiness each of us need to have. In other words, Paul is saying to Christians at Thessalonica, don't slumber. Don't be complacent. That is even a better word, I think. Complacent is something that you know, but you are not serious about. I know how to get there. Oh, I know. Don't tell me anymore. I got it. And does nothing, right? Yeah. Is there somebody like that here? Oh, I think there's somebody going like this at the back. Yeah, so Apostle Paul is saying, let us not be complacent about our faith, but be ready. Be vigilant about your faith, because you really don't know when Jesus is coming. I know there are prophetic scholars today. If you cruise through internet, the TV, you'll find them. These are biblical scholars who minutely dissects verse, and they want to pinpoint a time and a season when Jesus might come. But Apostle Paul is clear, the gospel is clear, that you don't know, I don't know when Jesus will appear. Right? Am I right? Yeah, you read those passages. Yeah. And so, that, in other words, Apostle Paul is saying, that's God's business. Timetable, that's God's business. Our responsibility is just to ready ourselves. Our prayer is not supposed to be commanding God to send His Son down to the earth and redeem us forever, get us out of this misery. No, that's not our prayer. I think we probably like to pray that way. But Paul is saying, live with a sense of anticipation, because you really don't know when that might happen. And so, even the Gospels, not just Apostle Paul, I'm sure Apostle Paul probably learned about this by reading the Gospel. So I'm going to read two passages from the Gospel. One is from Matthew's Gospel, 24, verse 43 and 44. But you understand that if the head of the house knew at that time the thief would come, he would keep alert and wouldn't allow the thief to break into his house. Therefore, you also should be prepared, because the Son of God, will come at a time you don't know. Gospel is clear cut. There is no room for assumptions, right? Okay? You can talk to me. And Luke, there's another passage in Luke chapter 12, verse 39 and 40. But know this, if the homeowner had known what time the thief was coming, he wouldn't have allowed his home to be broken into. But you must be ready. Because the Son of Man is coming at a time when you don't expect him. They are a little different in their own way, but saying the same thing. Be ready, be prepared. And that is what each of us should be thinking about Because only, not even the Son knows. Like, you remember there's a text in the New Testament in Matthew. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my word will not pass away. But no one knows the day or the hour. No, not even the angel in heaven know. The Son does not know. Only the Father knows. You know? One could be a wonderful scholar, but Scripture is very clear. You know, don't try to assume anything more than it is. Don't try to predict the time, an hour, or whatever. But Apostle Paul says, just be prepared. Have that sense of anticipation in your faith. So Apostle Paul is saying, then, waiting for all of us, it's a challenge. We don't like to wait for stuff. When my internet is slow, I get agitated. When my phone is kind of slow, So waiting is not our gift, right? But Apostle Paul is saying, during this time, cultivate the virtues of faith, love, and hope. These virtues will humble us and ground us firmly our confidence in Jesus Christ. Right? It has a way of eventually mellowing us down. And so be firm. At times, I don't know the women, but we men, we like to fix things, right? We are project people. We like to have project and get things done. But Apostle Paul is not talking about some projects out there. Apostle Paul is not talking about external things that you and I should do. But Apostle Paul is saying internal preparation. Isn't there a difference there? Yeah, internal preparation. Sometime we would say, don't get there, that's too personal. Well, Apostle Paul is getting personal with us here. The internal preparation is critical in knowing God. You can't say to God, you're coming too close. You're getting a little too personal. I'm not ready. No. Apostle Paul is saying, be ready. Anytime Christ might come to us. The other metaphor or scenario that Paul presents to Christians at Philippi is the woman in labor. I read Professor Holly Heron's thought on this, and she says, it is worth pausing on the illustration of the pregnant woman. While the thief in the night is unexpected, The birth pains experienced by the woman have been anticipated for many months. Right? She knows that there is no way to avoid them in order to give birth. While Paul focuses is on the inevitability, wow, that's a big word, of the pain, there is more here that Apostle Paul is trying to say. The pain gives way to new life. Which is perhaps suggestive of the obtaining of salvation. Salvation is not cheap. It's not a cheap grace. It's a costly grace. This text, Apostle Paul is trying to say to us is, God is in the business of restoring, and so be ready. Okay, I have one last story. This is about getting ready story. After being single for a while, I thought I should date. And my parents, especially my mother, always said, pastors should not be single. You should get married. You should have a partner. It's okay. So I said, I need to date. But, where do I start? How do I do this thing? Have you wondered about that? Where do I start? So one day, I come home from work. Underneath my door, there's a sheet of paper. Are you open to dating? Call this number. Is it okay? So after a while, I did call. And they called me to the office. And they had relationship experts. Some social worker, clinical psychologist, this group of people working in from this little shop. They asked me tons of questions, developed a profile, and told me, we are going to find you a woman. We are going to find you a woman that fits your idea of a woman. I said, great. Well, the first woman that I was asked to go, and the first and the last was Elena. Yeah, see? Now you know. I'm not done yet. So the day of the date, I took quite a preparation. I bought new suit. I bought brand new boots. Not shoes, boots. Yes. And I bought a bouquet of flowers. And I drove down and took her to a nice restaurant. If you go to Chicago, Greek Island. Flaming cheese cane. See, that is preparation, right? If you are serious about life, relationship, one has to put an effort into it. It doesn't come easy. And Apostle Paul, in so many ways, is just reminding Christians at Thessalonica as well as Sun City United Methodist Church. We have a responsibility to prepare. You just cannot sit there nonchalant and then wait things to happen. It just might be too late, kind of. And so no matter where you are in your walk with the Lord today, you heard it this morning. From me, as well as Apostle Paul, and then the Matthew and the Luke, who said, be ready. Be ready. Take it serious. If this day was your last day, you would be darn nice to people, right? Because we want to leave this home happy. We will go out of our ways to be good to people. Don't wait for the last day. Start now. Amen? Amen. I'm done.